X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach, and Adam.
Hey. How we doing, Zach?
It's so nice. I'm great, because it's so nice to be here with you on this blessed day.
Yeah, we're going to do one of my favorite things today, which is harshly judge Dr. Hank McCoy. So I'm happy about that.
Hank. I love Hank. I think Hank's great. I think Hank's a lot of fun. I think Hank is a complex character who's made some choices.
Yes, we are going to talk about some of those today. Hey, how was Gem City Comic-Con? You just got back, right?
Yeah, so I got back a couple of days ago in real time, again, because of how podcasting works.
Yep.
It was good. It was a fun time. I got to hang out with Luke. I made no money. My panel turned into an interactive panel, which was real fun because it wasn't supposed to.
Did Luke wear the reptile costume as he was planning on doing?
Yeah, he did.
Oh boy! So it must have been a real treat.
I did have a guy ask why we called Heroes in Crisis 8 a bad comic, and he said, I'm buying that. I said, did you read that issue? He said, not yet. I said, brother, let's hold on. Sorry, don't want to spoil it for you, but it's been out for a while. Heroes in Crisis 8, not great. But do you know what is great?
The fact that people request things on our show.
Yes, especially this person. Because this is friend of the show and longtime supporter, Nur Ravel. Nur has been a big supporter of the show since the beginning, and he's a good friend and good bud, and nice to talk to. So, Nur, thank you.
Yes, and Nur, I think you might actually be surprised by how I react to some of these things. I feel like I've really come across as a beast hater over the last year, and I have some nice things to say about Dr. McCoy today.
If I was Dr. McCoy and I wanted to rebrand myself, do you know what I would do?
Would you, I don't know, experiment on yourself, or perhaps like hang out with your evil clone, your evil self from another parallel dimension?
What? No, I would go to the Kings Island people and say, guys, I would like to rebrand your classic wooden roller coaster, The Beast, as me themed and not just minecart themed. What are you talking about?
That was really specific. I'm not sure how I was supposed to guess that.
This is that good what am I? Midwestern Ohio accent and content that I know everyone here craves.
Well, what's our first story here that involves no themed roller coasters whatsoever?
It does involve the Beast teaming up with his evil self, among other things. It is X-Men Endangered Species, written by Mike Carey, Christopher Yost, and Christos Gage, with art by Scott Eaton, Mark Bagley, and Mike Perkins. This is it's an interesting format and not one we've run into much talking about this show.
Yeah, this is separated over the course of 18 different issues as either a standalone one-shot or backup stories, right?
It actually was only over 17 issues. There was a one-shot, and it was supposed to be 17 8-issue backups, but
right.
One of the titles got delayed, so they just put two of them in the last two in the last issue.
Which is fine, and I gotta hand it to Unlimited. It's pretty cool that they, you can look this up by Endangered Species, and you can read all of them in a sort of playlist, which I really appreciated that instead of having
that's a new feature. That's a new feature of the Marvel Unlimited program, because that wasn't the case in the past.
So this story happens right after House of M and Decimation, right? So we're down to, less than 200 mutants on the planet Earth, many of whom happen to still be our ex-friends.
Yeah, conveniently whatnot. And it starts at a funeral for a kid.
Yes, but
nothing special.
Not
about
an
him.
X-Man, not a student of the Xavier School.
He got hit by a car. It was a tragedy. He was a mutant, so mutant kind is deeply upset to lose one of their own when they are such an endangered species. And it kind of sets the catalyst for this is a super desperate time for mutants, and Hank McCoy is going to do whatever it takes to try and figure this out.
Yeah, he pretty much thinks that he can come up with the answer, and he's willing to go to any means necessary. And with some limits, he does display some real ethical boundaries in this story, but it also it stretches him a little bit.
Well, I think that's the entire point of the story, to stretch Beast, but then to also draw those hard lines for him, saying, nope, this is not who I am. This is not what I'm going to do. It's a very interesting character study, and the 8-page format allows it to jump around to a lot of different locales while still feeling pretty like a pretty solid narrative at each place. So he makes an offer to pretty much everyone. And by everyone, I mean all the supervillains who are good at science.
Yeah, there's about a dozen of them that he puts on FaceTime just to see, hey, anybody want to help me out with my science project? And he really doesn't have any takers. But he does manage through the course of these backup stories to bump into a variety of different people. And most of the story is spent in the company of Dark Beast.
Yeah, Dark Beast, for those who don't know, Dark Beast is Beast from the Age of Apocalypse, where he just became a super amoral scientist. I say amoral, and I mean that in the sense of he has no moral boundaries. He is deeply evil.
Oh, yeah, and they go to graphic lengths to show you how evil he is by having Dark Beast install some of his memories into Beast via... What does he do? He drinks a vial of something?
His liquid memory, yes.
Right. I've programmed just these specific horrific things that I want you to see. It's wild.
Anyway, they go grave robbing.
Yeah, in Genosha.
Which isn't good. Yeah. It's just rough. They keep pushing and they keep pushing. And Hank's learning this whole time that not only are mutants depowered, the X gene is gone. The High Evolutionary says, hey, this is magic. This isn't science. We can't fix this. He goes to Kavita Rao, who at this point is just the villain from Astonishing X-Men, and says, hey, help me. And she says, literally all of my mutant samples are gone. Right. Like, they had the X gene in them one day, and they didn't have it anymore.
Yeah, there's even a scene where he hangs out with Bishop, which is, I guess, this is District X.
District X Bishop,
time.
Yep.
And, all the vials of mutant growth hormone. Is that what it is? No, it's not Kick, right? What is
no,
the guy
it's
selling?
MGH.
It's MGH, right? Yeah, none of it works anymore. So he really does go to some surprising lengths and explores a wide variety of the universe to try and figure this out to no avail.
And then he finds out that magic also can't work.
Mm-hmm.
But the probably the most, I'd say the most impactful thing is when he goes to visit one of the most productive X gene creators in the world, and that is, of course, Ma Guthrie.
That is a fascinating chapter of this story because he's just asking her to, kind of help out. Like, here you are, you're a parent and you have given birth to all of these mutants as a human. Can you kind of help me out? And she's basically like, no way, get off my property.
Well, I get it from her perspective.
Oh, yeah.
She lost a son from Xavier. She's had all of her other kids go through so much trauma because of this. In her mind, it's, look, if mutants are gone, mutants are gone. That's what it is. And not that Ma Guthrie is not sympathetic to the situation, because she is, of course, a perfect woman. But she's not interested in helping. She's saying, you know what? This is just the way things are. And it doesn't help them that Dark Beast does nearly kill one of the Guthrie boys.
Yes, because Dark Beast has no compunctions about hurting people or experimenting on people, so he just starts, while regular original brand Beast is talking to Ma Guthrie. But I think that those conversations that are had in these backup stories, and there's only a couple of the backup stories that I feel like don't really work or tie in. The vast majority of them really do a good job of keeping the storyline going, but they're grounded. And they are about, whether you need to, Beast does need to accept this loss, or whether, him as a scientist, as a researcher, as an explorer, does he need to keep pushing forward to figure this out? Is it even something that can be figured out? And that's what makes it pretty interesting. And I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it resolves itself well.
Well, that's because it can't. And unfortunately, because it goes on for these, 17, 18 chapters, you kind of want it to come to some sort of, I don't know, epiphany. And
you want it to come to anything.
Yeah.
Because this is the lead up to Messiah Complex. So
right.
The X books, we're getting there. Mm-hmm. But the last chapter is Beast going to talk to Wanda Maximoff, who doesn't remember anything about being Scarlet Witch, blah, 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 blah. And it's just this conversation that essentially says, well, maybe you don't want all the mutants to come back. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's a downer ending.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is kind of a downer, but you're absolutely right that it is left sort of just ambiguous at the end as to, did Beast come to any sort of conclusion as part of this arc? He has to walk away from it just to end the story, but I don't know. It does contain some really interesting nuggets, including a little section where they show you different dimensions of Beast, including one who I guess is dressed like a bishop, like a Catholic bishop, and is asking the Inhumans if the Terrigen Mists can solve their problem.
To be fair, at this time in continuity, Quicksilver was repowering people using Terrigen crystals.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
But there's these little...
It did go bad for them. It did go bad for them, just to be clear.
Can't imagine why or how. So there are these little things sprinkled throughout this that I think are really fascinating. And I like the dynamic between Hank and Dark Beast. I think that, as weird as it is, they have a really good back and forth with one another. In agreeing to work together.
Yeah, the story is at its best when those two are bouncing off each other.
Yes.
One thing I also really like about this is when Mike Carey is writing that first one-shot, he does that Mike Carey thing where he reevaluates the X-Men's mission and all of the status quo, saying, hey, was this really the best idea the whole time, guys?
Yeah, should we really have been, serving up child soldiers for decades? And I also appreciate that in Mike's writing, we get a chance to see Jamie Madrox essentially volunteer to start a breeding program to repopulate the Earth with mutants. And Beast is like, no, you can't do it that way.
And I believe this is before that one story in X Factor that I don't really want to talk about more than that with the Madrox baby. So we have no way of knowing just how poorly of a plan that would be.
Oh boy, jeez Louise.
Yeah, that one's gonna be rough chuckles when we get to it
there eventually.
Well, we have control of this list. We can choose.
We maybe can avoid it.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But I think this is an interesting story. I think from an art perspective, nothing jumps out to me. Scott Eaton and Mike Perkins especially have a very similar style, and M-Bags is doing a very good job being a chameleon here. He doesn't stand out as Mark Bagley.
No, he's not doing his style, essentially. It's very interesting. But The art is fairly consistent. There's a couple of backups that don't really fit in as well as the rest, but it's relatively consistent, and none of it takes me out of the story. It's pretty good visual storytelling.
Yeah, this is probably about as good as this story could have come out to be. Sure. But at the end of the day, it's a bridge to set a tone and not to tell a story.
Right. Well, they are backup stories that are leading up to a multi-book crossover.
It's getting there, yeah. But
which is weird though, because I don't really necessarily know what to compare it to on our list of 219 X-Men stories at this point.
Yeah, we have a lot of them. We've got like Days of Future Past at number 1. At number 30, we've got Chamber 1 through 4. At number 75, we've got the Uncanny X-Men Acts of Vengeance story. At 112, we have What If the X-Men Had Stayed in Asgard. Let's just jump right down to 150, which is A plus X number 5, where Iron Fist and Duke team up, and Loki and Mr. Sinister team up. Number 200 is Star Trek X-Men Next Generation, Second Contact.
Solid.
And then the Draco's at the very bottom.
Ugh.
So there's a lot of different stories on here, but I agree. It's difficult to compare because it's not bad, but it's not great. For what it's worth, I think it's definitely lower than the Mike Carey X-Men Legacy from Genesis to Revelation.
Oh, definitely.
At 44.
Yeah, no, I was looking much lower. I like this story, but I agree with you that it doesn't ultimately... It serves its purpose, and it works as a standalone, but it does leave you sort of wanting there to be a little bit more of a conclusion. So...
let me ask this.
Yeah.
Is it better than number 108 right now, which is the Rogue miniseries from the 90s?
No, I don't think it is.
Okay.
No.
I think it's better than number 125, which is Exiles 1 and 2.
Okay. All right.
And I probably think it's better than the Hellfire Saga at 116.
I think that's fair. I do like the conversations that are happening here. Like the ethical quandaries that are being debated in this are really interesting, and they're good character work with Beast. So we're in the right realm, and I think there's some similarity here to what we saw in 109 with Childhood's End, which is New X-Men 20 to 27.
I like that story better.
Yeah, I do too. Do you think this is better than, this is completely unrelated, but at 113, the Generation Next arc of Phalanx Covenant?
It's like right there.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you think it's better or worse than that?
I think I like Phalanx Covenant Generation Next, Bishop Volume 1, and Madripoor Knights better than this, which would put it at 116.
Then it's 116. That's what it is.
All right. It's a great spot for it.
X-Men Endangered Species.
Yeah,
Thanks for requesting that one there. It's an interesting story.
It is. And if you like Beast and you like, ethical, scientific, magical conversations, check it out. Very cool.
It is. Now, the next story we have to talk about is wild.
Oh my god.
This one is written by Aaron Nesenti.
Yep.
With pencils by Don Perlin and some very good Bill Sienkiewicz covers.
You got it.
It's Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, which is Hank McCoy. And who's our beauty here?
We got Daz. We got Dazzler.
That's right.
Allison Blair.
That's right. And Dazzler is going to get taken for a ride here, people. Because she is about, in her desperation, because she's been outed as a mutant and everybody apparently hates her now.
Dazzler the movie sure happened.
She basically gets drugged into a underground fight club, underground mutant fight club.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that. So, Dazzler she's down on her luck.
Yeah.
Which, here's the thing. I'm always trying to figure out how famous Dazzler is at any given time.
Oh, it varies greatly. She could be on world tour. Her last album could have bombed. I'm always wondering when she even has time to record an album, to be honest.
Because here's the thing. If we're going to take Dazzler, and I've not read the original Dazzler series, so shame on me for that. However, she's not introduced as a superstar. She's introduced as someone who's trying to make it.
Right.
And she eventually does make it, and then gets big enough to do Dazzler the movie, which bombs, and then she goes back to obscurity. But, like, she seems like she would be a one-hit wonder in the 70s, maybe, and then all of this weird stuff. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's tricky. You know, like, how are you a multi-platinum music star when you spent the 80s in Australia and everyone thought you were dead? But, I mean, it worked because when she comes through the Siege Perilous, she's, you know, living in a mansion and she has her own, you know, she has Guido for security. Well, that's is she borrowing Guido? We're getting completely off topic.
She washes up naked in Amnesiac on Lila Cheney's beach house.
Yes,
lawn.
Okay. I'm remembering this wrong.
None of that happens in this story, though.
Oh no. We have our underground fight club. We have the Heartbreak Hotel, which is sort of a halfway house for mutants, and man, this is a story. Did we also mention this involves Dr. Doom's son?
So here's the weird thing about that. Doom is on the first cover.
Yes.
He's in like the first 6 pages, ranting about how Doom is like a god and that no one is, fit to be his child, which I don't know when his actual son, Christoph, shows up in continuity because I'm not a big Fantastic Four head, but Fantastic Four head, but yeah, this didn't age well with continuity, but anyway, he shows up, then disappears. Alison Blair starts shacking up with this guy named Alexander Flynn, I think. And they do this whole thing. He gets her addicted to drugs and hanging out with these people. She also starts hooking up with Beast, who is just bored and visiting Wonder Man and is oddly obsessed with Dazzler.
Which
they have this...
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, and he kind of proclaims himself her savior, and then there's this forced romance that doesn't really make sense. Yeah,
they become true love, like... page 3 or whatever of them meeting each other.
Right. And, you know, I'm under the impression that she's under some kind of influence for the majority of the story. Given the fact that she ends up in a Native American headdress at one point and, you know, is being controlled into this underground fight club arena.
Yeah, let's talk about how this escalates. It starts with her doing some drugs.
Right.
And then hanging out with some ugly mutants like Rocker. And then living in this hotel. And then immediately going to, by the way, everyone in Hollywood knows about this secret underground gladiator arena where everyone kills each other.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing, and there's all this talk about honor among these gladiators and how this is the only place they can really feel free. With the physical violence, and Beast is trying to say, no, come back to me, my love. And Dazzler's like, I want to murder people now. This is what I want to do.
What's great about it is that when it's pitched to her originally, it seems kind of like she's going to go do an off-Broadway show. You know, they're like, yeah, this is like underground, you know. It's
real art.
This is going to be like very artsy fartsy. And then she's like, oh, I get to battle to the death. Let's do this. And
yeah,
it's a bit of a switch.
Literally everyone's emotions in this comic, like, there's no build-up. It's just, I feel this way, now I feel this opposite way.
Yeah, and I'll say that the characterization of both Beast and Dazzler seems wildly off to me. I recognize that at this point, Beast is, you know, part X-Man, part Defender. We're pre-X Factor here. And, we're still sort of more Dazzler a la her solo series than we are Dazzler Uncanny X-Men, Aussie X-Men. But even with that, I just don't have a good handle on who these characters are in terms of their relation to their, greater continuity. It's still strange.
You know what? Now you're making me think of something.
Oh.
You're making me think because this series wraps up in like March of 95 or 85.
Okay.
So that would have been just I'm curious if this was part of them starting to figure out how
to do
this X Factor team was going to work. Because Dazzler was one of the original thoughts on that.
Yeah, that was the pitch, wasn't it? That instead of Jean, there was going to be Dazzler?
They were jumping back and forth about Jean and Dazzler for a while.
Yeah.
Until they came up with a sufficient way to piss off Chris Claremont. But, yeah, it's like there's art with Dazzler on the team. So I don't know if this was a chicken or an egg situation or what, but it's a weird setup. Also, Dr. Doom's kid is actually secretly behind the whole thing, and Beast and Dazzler do have to fight him, but then Dr. Doom just comes in and stops it.
Yeah, it's pretty anticlimactic. Dr. Doom shows up and is basically like, hey, why are you cosplaying as me? And then Beast and Dazzler hold hands and say, let's get out of this weirdo place. And that's how it ends. I don't even know if I would recommend checking this out. It is such a weird 80s oddity. You're right that it has these beautiful Sienkiewicz covers, but just such a strange story about like a Hollywood Morlock group that kind of went terribly wrong.
It does the Innocenti essentially preaching in a comic book thing.
Oh sure, yeah.
But it's preaching very much like the New Mutant Summer Special. It's preaching a very weird message. Its message is like fame is like maybe we're all really watching all this violent television and it's corrupting us and we're just gonna want more and more.
Yeah, I don't know. This is not like as preachy as Nocenti can get. We're somewhere in between, like the more nuanced subtlety. I mean, I say nuanced subtlety, but her Daredevil run, which eventually
where Daredevil fights a vacuum and fights an Ultron.
Yes, and ultimately, has to go and fight Mephisto in hell as Daredevil. Where he pretends to be Bullseye and then Bullseye pretends to be him, and then Bullseye and him start having a fight, trying to figure out who's really the other person. Everyone loses their sense of self. I love Nocenti's Daredevil run. But we're not quite as preachy as say New Mutant Summer Special. So we're somewhere in between. If you wanted to learn about this Fight Club, because it does get revisited in New Mutants, you might want to check this out so that you know what that was all about, because this comes out before that.
Look, I know there's people who really like this miniseries.
Yeah.
I don't.
I just can't find the link. I think there's cool concepts here. I think the idea of the Heartbreak Hotel in particular is kind of interesting. We've seen other iterations of underground mutant fight clubs. I think we saw one in Colin Bunn's Magneto in some of the early issues, but nothing like this. This is very cartoonish and almost silly.
Yeah, it's a weird concept, and I don't care for it.
So, it doesn't sound like you like this very much.
Doesn't sound like you like it very much. Don't be pinning all this on me, man.
No. Strangely enough, I have this in floppies, and I don't know why.
Oh, I have it. I have all these. Yeah, I have this one.
I'm not really sure why I own this, but
because you gotta. Because you saw it, and you probably saw all 4 floppies there, and you're like, "Oh, this is if I can have it."
I have this thing where if I can find the oddball minis and one shots, those are my bread and butter. I don't.
Oh yeah, dude.
I don't need thousands of issues of single month floppies from the original series all the way through. But if I can find these weird 1 to 6 issue things like Fallen Angels or Long Shot, I'm there for that.
Yeah, dude. This weekend I bought I found all of X-Men The End, all 3 series.
Wow.
In floppies.
That's great.
And the CB Cebulski as Akira Yoshida and Chris Pacello AOA series, which is bad. X-Men The End's also not good, but it's absolutely buck wild.
Oh man, that'll be a fun one to talk about here.
Anyway, is this
how low do you want to go on the list here? Because
is it better or worse than Summer Special, which is currently at?
That's at 177. That is definitely better than this.
Man, Summer Special actually, I thought it was doing much worse on this list. I think we've just talked about a lot of bad comics.
Oh no, it seemed to have risen up in the pool just based on the fact that there have been a lot of bad stuff.
I'd rather read London Burning. I'd rather read London Burning again at 187.
How about this? Is it better or worse than Poptopia, which also involves a pop singer and a romance between a pop singer and another mutant?
I think it's worse than Poptopia, but not that much worse.
All right. I think we're in the right realm, though. Like, below that is Pride and Wisdom. Also,
this is
sort of a weird romance thing.
This is better than Pride and Wisdom and better than Heroes for Hope. So I think that's exactly where it goes.
Perfect.
As 197.
All right. New 197. Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, and I'm real sorry. Did I ever tell you that easily my most awkward creator interaction was with Ann Nesenti?
I think I don't know how much in depth you've talked about this on the show, though.
I asked her, because I was scared and dumb, and I don't know why I was scared. Ann Nesenti was at a convention. Her table was 2 flyers for her series The Seeds with David Aja. That I think they had just come up with the logo and the title at this point. But then I asked her about Spiral, because I was talking about Spiral on my next thing, and she said, "Oh, I don't know, I don't remember anything about that, man. I'm sorry, I can't help you."
There you go.
She also didn't remember, because Luke was with me at that show. And he brought his Acts of Vengeance omnibus for her to sign because of that Daredevil fighting Ultron story.
Oh,
which,
yeah.
Also, she said, "I wrote this? Okay. I believe you."
That's what happens when you write a lot of comics. It starts to blur together.
You know who else wrote a lot of comics, though?
Mm.
Jim Starlin did.
Wow. We are going to review a Jim Starlin comic book here, guys.
Jim Starlin, he's Thanos' dad?
Yeah. You've seen Endgame now, Zach. What'd you think?
I viscerally enjoyed it, while I understand it had so many flaws. Halfway through the movie, multiple times I leaned over to my wife and said, "This is like a super weird movie, right?"
It is a very weird movie.
Like, as a structure, this is a weird movie.
Yeah. It's very enjoyable, but definitely worth dissecting, because there's been a lot of think pieces written over the last week that have been great. But I think ultimately
Jim Starlin's in that movie.
Jim Starlin's in the movie?
Yeah, did you not know that?
No, where is he? Is this a spoiler?
I mean, guys, skip ahead 30 seconds. It's not spoilery, but let's say, the first twist that happens in the movie?
Yeah.
This will spoil that. So anyway, y'all good?
Yeah.
Y'all good?
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so the therapy scene?
Yes.
Jim Starlin is one of the guys. He's the old guy in the hat or something.
Out. I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yeah. Jim Starlin's there. I guess that wasn't really a spoiler, except for that there is a therapy-based scene.
That's not really a spoiler. I don't think that's a spoiler.
It's not. Anyway, let's move on.
Well, why in the heck are we talking about Jim Starlin? Jim Starlin doesn't write X-Men, does he?
Nah, but Jim Starlin did write one of the first comics I ever bought, which was Silver Surfer Volume 3, number 50, the one with that chromium cover of the Silver Surfer flying towards the reader with Thanos in the background, all like, ho, ho, ho.
That's a good run. I mean, go back
Yeah.
and read that Silver Surfer run leading up to Infinity
I've read that
Gauntlet.
issue. I've read that issue a ton.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good. Like, it's real good. Never read that whole run.
Oh,
it was a pretty
It's good.
confusing starting place. I'll just say that.
You know, it's very confusing, as most Jim Starlin Cosmos stuff is. But this is not a cosmic story. This is the X Factor special, Prisoner of Love, which is a standalone Perfect Bound one-shot.
Yeah. Here's how I'm going to start this, I think. Anyway, Jim Starlin and Jackson Geist do this, but I want to read you a quote, Adam.
Yes, please. I like
because I think this really sets the tone. I'm a cute little furry freak whose only friends are other freaks. Of course, all of them can pass as human. Is it any wonder that sometimes I get the blues? That wasn't meant to be a pun. So Beast is talking like he's in a noir book the entire time. And he's very sad about how no one will love him and no one will have kids with him. Regardless of the fact that I'm pretty sure him and Trish Tilby are an item right now.
I thought the exact same thing.
It's October of 1990. Him and Trish Tilby are totally a thing.
And how crazy is it that this comes out in 1990?
1990.
This feels like an 80s artifact.
This feels like a late 70s artifact. This is...
It is so bizarre. So should we just do a quick run through of the very, very light plot here? So we know the Beast is, feeling blue, not a pun.
He's feeling blue.
He's wandering.
That wasn't meant to be a pun.
Right, wandering around New York City in, his thing getup. So he's got his hat and his trench coat on.
He's Raphael from Ninja Turtles. Look.
He's shouting "damn" into the night. And he stops a mugging. And the woman that is, I guess, under attack, basically
the mug-E,
turns out to be some kind of cosmic entity that holds him hostage for the rest of the issue.
Her name is Sifnia Niap.
Oh, that's a fun
and you
one.
You say holding hostage. I say they are engorged in love with one another for weeks? Question mark?
For what feels like weeks. But yes, Beast is head over heels for what, he considers to be the most amazing woman he's ever seen in his life. From panel to panel, I can't figure out which actress Jackson is trying to capture. There's one panel in particular where it really looks like Daryl Hannah. But the rest of the time...
I thought you meant of the actress. Like, of the woman, not of Beast.
Oh, no. No, I do.
Wait, Daryl Hannah, like the SNL guy?
No. From Splash.
Who am I thinking of?
Yeah, hold on a sec. Daryl Hannah from Splash. You're thinking of
Daryl Hammond?
Daryl Hammond?
Yeah, I am. I'm thinking of Daryl Hammond from Saturday Night Live.
Wow, those are two very different people, man.
I was like, that's not what Beast looks like. He doesn't look like bad Bill Clinton, but okay.
No, and it's the bulk of this is just them having these sort of makeout sessions that are interrupted by weird psychedelic artwork, and you have no idea how long this is, what the time frame is. It's weird. Even the art is very strange. There's in particular, there's a whole scene where she's dressed in this weird jazzercise outfit, with an Ace of Spades logo over across the tank, and it's just strange. Like I'm wondering what led to this creation. Like this is a weird one that I would like a backstory on.
Oh yeah, we also haven't talked about the fact that Cynthia is actually this being of pure light and cosmic goodness in the world, whose entire mission is to stave off the advances of the Dark One.
Yes, and this is where it gets
the embodiment of all malevolence in the universe.
Yeah, it gets very Jim Starlin, and so really the entire plot here is not just to get Beast to fall passionately in love, but she needs Beast to jump on this guy at a certain time so that she's right. Like,
also, we forgot to mention, to steal a phrase from Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, she's stealing his vital fluids.
Yes.
His precious bodily fluids. And all of his energy, because she is a sex vampire, which I believe is called a succubus.
That's accurate. That is
She's
accurate.
like, she's a succubus, but also an angel?
It's ill-defined, and the conclusion of this, where the dark person fights against
the dark one,
the two
the
of
dark
them,
one.
It ends with like a giant crystal smashing through a volcanic blast. Like, I don't even know.
Oh yeah, because she's also a crystal.
Sure,
she's an angel crystal succubus.
Sure. And at the end, it turns out that it all just happened in the course of an afternoon.
And maybe it was all a dream.
Well, except she bit him, and he's going to remember that bite very fondly, which I think is just gross. If you're going to get a romantic souvenir from this misadventure, is it really going to be the fact that she drew blood from your hand? But it does double down on the vampire aspect of the story.
Yeah. Do you want me to tell you the most bananas thing about this?
Please make this more bananas. It's already so bananas.
This is not her only appearance.
Wait, what?
She shows up again.
In what?
In a Ron Martz written story a year later as a backup for Silver Surfer Annual Number 4, Part 3 of the Korvac Saga. In a story called First Love, featuring her and Starhawk.
I am going to track that down.
Oh, I am so wanting this to be on that app.
Prisoner of Love is not on Marvel Unlimited, and
Wait, hold on. I said Starhawk, which is what it says here. But actually it's Eros, Thanos' brother?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Thanos' weird horny brother?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
This sounds like fun.
Fun's one way to describe it.
Yeah. I'm almost at a loss for words with this particular thing, because it's so bizarre, and it has elements of Jim Starlin's, cosmic writing, but at the same time, it's this weird romantic sexual story that does not connect on any level. Like we were just talking about how in Beauty and the Beast doesn't really seem like Beast. Here he seems even less like Beast than he did there. And again, he's falling head over heels for a blonde, and it's just weird. Like, it's scene after scene of them in this apartment, and like, I get the idea that it's supposed to be much more psychedelic than it maybe is. I
don't think of Jackson Geist as a psychedelic artist, which might be part of the problem.
No.
It's also weird that this entire book, like, before every page turn, Beast has just finished having sex. Every single page is post-coitus.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And because she's on almost every page, it almost looks like this is like Jackson Geist's sketchbook of his favorite model. Like
kind of.
Yeah. Like it's like he had a couple of sessions with her, and here she is in her robe. Here she is in the weird jazzercise outfit. And here's 30 pages of that. And I don't know. It's just not something I like looking at.
No, this is, how we talk about some stories being bananas, but we love them?
Yeah, this isn't one of those, Like,
no.
This is something I totally understand why it's not on Marvel Unlimited, because
it's actively nonsense.
Yeah. Yep. Now, we do have two stories that I think are kind of similar. We have the first volume of X Factor 1-6 down at 208. We also have Crimson Dawn at 209.
Why do we have Morlocks take Manhattan at 206? Did we hate that much?
It's bad. It's really bad. I mean, it's a McHale story about like mass suicide with some very bad characterization.
I know. I see. Okay, here's the thing. I 100% believe what we said at the time. I think more fondly of that story than I do this one. Same with Phalanx Covenant. Life Science is bad.
Life Science
is real bad.
Life Science is pretty bad. I mean,
I'd rather reread Crimson Dawn.
Yeah. Would you rather read the first 6 issues of X Factor?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So we're going lower here. Better or worse than Magneto Rex?
Pretty much about it. Magneto Rex is kind of better, I think.
I think it's better too.
I think Eve of Destruction might be better at 213.
Yeah, this is strangely on par in terms of quality with the What If Wolverine Was Lord of the Vampires during Inferno?
And X-Men 100th Anniversary Special.
Yeah.
Like, these three form a very good triumvirate of very bad nonsense stories.
Yeah. I think you would probably argue that the 100th Anniversary Special is worse than this, though, wouldn't you? You really do hate that issue.
I do hate it. Like, all three of these are bad, and they're bad in equally bad ways.
I think from a craft perspective, though, that What If story might be worse than this. Like...
Then let's put it in front of it. Let's put it just as our new 214.
Yeah, that's good. The less said about this, the better.
Yeah, guys, Prisoner of Love is not Jim Starlin's best work.
Whew, it is not.
Man.
We can see the reaping of the rewards of his best work on the screen, however strange they are. But this is definitely not something you're going to want to track down unless you're an X Factor Beast fan completist and you just have to check it out. But it's odd.
Yeah, guys, this is a wild one. I do want to track down that Silver Surfer annual.
Oh yeah, Korvac
because no, this isn't the Korvac saga. This is the Korvac Quest.
Oh,
This is the sequel to the Korvac saga.
I didn't know there were 2. Now I'm learning.
I mean, look, man, I'm kind of just going based on the fact that the Korvac saga didn't happen in 1991.
I'm talking like I know what a Korvac is. It could be a car.
Korvac is like Avengers Proteus, and also the Guardians of the Galaxy 300 or 3000 Proteus. I think, again, never read it. Yeah, it's on that app. Know what I'm doing right after this? I have a bunch of friggin'. Oh my gosh. No. Hold on. We're doing this in real time.
Is the backup there?
They only have 30 out of 64 pages on that app.
When they do that, just do the whole issue. Drives me nuts.
It's probably just for how things are digitally collected. Oh my gosh.
I know.
I'm not gonna check it right now. I'm gonna check Comixology. But man, much like the Beast at Kings Island, this has been a roller coaster of emotions.
Some very weird Beast stuff today. So, Near, thank you again. That was a good one to get us started.
Y'all, if you want to be like Near, go on over to patreon.com/XavierFiles. You can throw in any amount of money you want, but if you throw in at least $2, we'll make an episode about you. Well, not about you, about something you pick. And it'll be fun, probably.
I thought that was fun.
I thought it was fun, too. And I also thought that if you'd like to have more fun, you can follow me on Twitter at XavierFiles. You can also go to XavierFiles.com, where I have all the latest and greatest of X-Men articles and news and bad fan theories and discussions about the definitely legally not X-Men TV show Mutant X from the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, fascinating oddity.
Yeah, that's going to be up by the time this episode goes up, I hope.
Nice.
I didn't write that. Friend of the show, Trent Seeley did. He's good.
He is
Anyway,
good.
Adam. Yeah, Adam, what do you got going on?
Guys, you can always follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy. I've got new pages of Bish and Jubes, the Cross Time Conundrum, coming out every X-Men Monday at adamrec.tumblr.com. And I haven't mentioned in a while, but I'm doing a Patreon recently where you can get sketches in your inbox every day. If that's something you would be interested in, go to patreon.com/AdamRec. I'm doing sketches. I'm doing the X-Men Smooches infographics every month. And the higher you get, the more rewards there are. So if that sounds interesting to you, check it out.
I do like seeing Adam's sketches every day.
Thank you, Zach.
It's fun. I hit the like button when I like them, or if I remember, mostly. Positive feedback's good, and everyone enjoys it.
Doesn't everybody like their back to be pat just every once in a while? It's nice.
And if you want to pat our back, maybe leave a review on iTunes, or tell a friend about this good show that we do have.
What are we talking about next week, Zach?
Oh, next week we're going to talk about the Hunter.
Ooh.
You know him as Nimrod.
Nimrod.
He's the greatest hunter among men, and that name has been ruined thanks to one Bugs Bunny. So, we got that. But it should be fun. We're actually going to talk about a story that we've been planning on talking about since the initial planning session of this podcast.
Yeah, I think it was one of the first things we talked about doing.
And we never got around to it until now.
Might as well be now, right?
It might as well. There's no time like the present.
Never.
And by present, I mean next week. But until then, guys, this has been Battle of the Atom, and we hope you survived the experience.